the stock market, meaning companies, new highs.
I'm not fucking leaving. The show goes on. Nuts! They're nuts! They know nothing!
An online network called Internet.
Well, it's very hip to be on the internet right now. Welcome, my degenerates! The rest of your life starts right now on Market Mania. This is the no bullshit approach to all financial markets, from Bitcoin to darknets to political betting, and of course, right here, the largest casino in the world, the US stock market. I'm your host, Brian Micon, Bitcoin class of 2011, financial genius, and I used to play poker. Joining me are my fellow degens, Matt Glantz and Brett Ritchie. Glantz, former options trader on the floor of the Philadelphia Exchange. Ritchie, head of Blitzpick, coming to a blockchain near you this winter. The whole thing is put together by Tony the producer, and this is Market Mania! Hell of a show for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Glantz, what is the options fund up to? How is the markets doing today?
What's up, guys? The market's kind of dead. Well, the Nasdaq's up 0.5%, but the S&P's kind of unchanged. We're doing good. We're up like 3.5% today after a miserable day yesterday. I think we lost like 11%. The market just got tanked. I think the Dow was down 900 at one point. It was bloody. But today we're doing good in Twitter and Overstock. I missed the Shopify. Shopify did a deal with TikTok, so they're doing good. Brad, what are you seeing over there today?
I mean, it's not a great day for Robinhood. Everyone's still kind of licking their wounds from yesterday, which was one of the more bloody days in recent memory. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of maybe somewhere in like South Carolina or Florida with the hurricane coming. Everybody's got their stores, their houses boarded up, and you're just kind of waiting. I think things are going to kind of stay flat as we get into this election. It's sort of just waiting to see what happens with the election at this point.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the big news. It's no stimulus. A lot of people thought that Trump and Pelosi would get the deal done. Didn't happen. Moscow Cocaine Mitch just announced we're going to go ahead and reconvene in November 9th. So there's no more chance of getting your stimulant before then. Brett Ritchie, I know you got your hand on the pulse of this one. What do you think?
I mean, just first off, shame on both sides, both parties, for not getting a deal done. This is playing politics with Americans' lives and livelihoods. Shame on you. The deal should have been done. Both sides are playing politics and just trying to maneuver. However, they use this for leverage in the election, which I think is pretty shameful. Going forward, I don't know if we're going to see a deal until the new president is sworn in or if Trump wins again, because whichever side loses is going to be really salty and probably just take their ball and go home. So I'm not even that confident in this sort of lame duck period that we're going to see a stimulus bill. Matt, what do you think?
Vote them all out. That's what I think. Yeah. They all suck. I think Trump clearly doesn't care about anyone except himself and his election prospects. So he's only for the stimulus because he knows it would help him with the election if it was before the election. And Pelosi, although I do think she cares about the people a bit, she cares way more about Trump not winning the election. So she's willing to sacrifice the people to give a better shot of him being ousted from office. So shame on everyone. I agree with you.
So interestingly enough, the election odds pretty much stayed flat. I think it was already priced in, but it's about 2-1 Biden versus Trump heading down to the wire. I know you're heavy on Biden. You actually started hedging a bit just for sort of risk diversification. Do you see these odds changing, Matt, from 2-1 Biden down the stretch?
It's been hovering around 2-1 for like a week and a half now. Not much change. Nothing changed after the last debate. Unless some kind of new news comes out or the polls start changing, the betting odds aren't going to change between now and the election. So I took off a third of my position at 2-1. You know, most of it, what I bought, I got the Dems before Biden was even the candidate. I got the Dems for the election at like better than even money. So I'm just laying off some of the risk. I'll probably take some more off later in the week, just so I'll have sort of a nice big free roll if Biden wins and won't lose if Trump wins.
But you still have Biden at like a 3 or 4-1 favorite. You're just doing this for sort of risk diversification.
I definitely think I'm giving away money by hedging off this Biden at 2-1. I think he's a much bigger favorite. But you know, the risks, the unknown risks are there. Like what is going to happen if the election's close and Trump has a hold of the Supreme Court, and they have the different things in store for the votes. So it's probably good to take some risk off either way.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's all going down 1 week from today. Everybody's clamoring for the stimulus. Everybody's a socialist, it turns out, after all. Nobody knew it until you really needed a $1,200 check. But that's how it is. And, it's going to be a hell of a ride on the way in to determining the winner of the 2020 presidential election in the United States. Stocks are flat on this news. And Brett Ritchie, not much happening. Obviously, the big event everybody's waiting for is a week from now. What are you seeing in this lame duck stock session until next week?
So I think that the only bad thing for the market is a close election, a contested election, the sort of uncertainty that comes with that, I think is bad. I think the market is going to fly with whether it's Biden or Trump, whoever wins. If they win easily, I think it's good for the market. However, I actually think this is going to be a fairly close election. Unlike Matt, that's predicting a Biden blowout, I have Trump at about a -150 to -180 favorite in this election. And I do think it's going to get a little bloody. The Democrats, by the way, as we saw in 2016, are the party to worry about sort of contesting an election and not conceding defeat. So I'm not as convinced that this is going to go smoothly as some people are hoping.
Matt Glantz, that's shots fired. Now, what do you think? Who is there's a lot of shenanigans ways that this election could be contested. You could have a Trump refusing to accept. You could have, obviously, the Democrats doing like a Florida, like a la 2000 Florida with the hanging chads. There's got to be a digital equivalent of that now. What do you think, Glantz?
Well, I'll read you a statement from Trump that he just put out about 2 minutes ago live on a press conference. It would be very, very proper and very nice if a winner were declared on November 3rd instead of counting ballots for 2 weeks, which is totally inappropriate. I don't believe that's by our laws. I don't believe that. So we'll see what happens. Trump said that as he was leaving the White House at a press conference. So basically,
I just want the rightful winner to win. So no shenanigans.
Votes in and they're not counted yet by election day. Let's just not count them. That's his theory. Why would we count them if they're in by election day and we don't have them counted? I mean, any sane person on either side thinks that all votes should count if they're in by election day, right?
Yeah.
No one, even if they're not counted or whatever, as long as they're in by election day, they should count. He's saying otherwise right now. So he's going to go.
Eventually, we need a crypto for this. You got a vote chain, and then you guaranteed your vote counts, and you can cryptographically verify, and you could get the total. You don't need to sacrifice the anonymity.
Yeah, until the guy we're going to get to in a few topics comes in and changes everyone's vote.
He doesn't want to nullify any votes that come in after the election. He wants to nullify any votes that aren't counted by the election.
He says a lot of things just off the cuff. I haven't seen this quote yet. I would like to.
Anyway, back to the market, Mike, on what you were saying. Even though we are in a wait and see mode for the election, there's a lot of huge earnings coming out this week. Microsoft tonight, like the big five, like Amazon, all the big companies are coming out in the next few days. So Microsoft's first tonight. That's going to move the market. We'll see what goes on, but it's wait and see as the market as a whole. But a lot of the Nasdaq's really going to move based on Microsoft and Amazon.
Thank you, Matt Glantz, for reminding me. It is a big earnings week. I did forget about that. Sort of had my mind on other things. Got a new dog. So, right.
Nice.
Bitcoin up 5.7%, up $700 today, 1360. That's news right there. We have Twitter earnings. That's one of the first of the big ones here that came out this week. I've been actually, I had to message earnings whispers on Twitter because I couldn't figure out when that beyond earnings were. I don't think they declared yet. I am certainly dialed into earnings this week. I almost forgot I was. Twitter earnings. This was relatively, this isn't a big shocker, right? This is sort of a run of the mill. It's sort of as expected. Everybody's home. Matt
Twitter earnings are coming out Thursday after the close. They're expecting a 7-cent loss. Twitter's up like 150% from the bottom at $20 a share to 50 now from the March lows. But Twitter's one of these stocks that's one of these, new age internet stocks that it's one of the only big ones that really never had a huge valuation rally like Facebook, Amazon, those Microsoft, those kind of stocks. And this one seems to be like pumping because of how well Snap did last week. Snap almost doubled in the last couple of weeks from earnings and just how much they're transferring their users into dollars. So a lot of people are having the same hopes for Twitter. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I know the three of us use Twitter a ton, and it seems to be. I don't know how they monetize it. We had a problem trying to promote tweets for ourselves for the show, so I don't think it's as easy to monetize as Facebook or some of the other things. Brett, what's your thoughts on Twitter as an investment here?
I mean, yeah, I love Twitter, the product. I think as an investment, it's a little shaky. It's already gone up 250%, as you said. I personally also believe that Trump is responsible for at least a couple percent of this market cap. He's really valuable, and if Biden's the favorite in the market, right, that means I think that hurts Twitter slightly. Might be a little insane, but it's not a good. Biden doesn't use Twitter, or it's some vapid nonsense from the same guy that writes Pete's tweets. No, I don't know. I think
You're not a believer, huh? Okay.
I love it. I think long term, yes. Short term trading this earnings next quarter, I don't know. I wouldn't get in there.
I don't let you discuss these things without a market cap. This is a $40 billion company.
Right.
So you're buying in right now at that price, representing $40 billion in market cap.
Every
and
important person on the world is on here for every journalist, every politician, every athlete, every celebrity.
Guys, Facebook is an 800 billion market cap. So we're talking about 1/20th the size.
Yeah,
Facebook has Instagram. Money. They have all these other. Twitter just has Twitter, basically.
So the question is, can Twitter get any traction in this area and start putting money at even like 1/10 the rate of Facebook? That's the question. If it
long term, I think so. But as what Zuckerberg allegedly said, it's like they drove a clown car into a gold mine. So, not holding my breath.
We will see. Can you monetize Twitter with every world leader and every single celebrity and just about everybody that has any hot take on stocks? You got to get on that Twitter. Any poker player, I mean, you got to, chip counts. That's worth something there.
All right, what's going on with Ripple?
This is a great story today. So Coinbase, everybody remembered, was the apolitical place to work. You're not allowed to say BLM or Blue Lives Matter or go Trump.
SJWs out of Coinbase. Bye-bye.
You had to leave. You couldn't be that woke and still work at Coinbase. Ripple. Now, this is not this. These are not similar.
You're in tune with the crypto world. And the door to get into the Coinbase operations, do they have like a sign with a circle and a red line through it says SJWs? Like one of those.
That's exactly. After Brian Armstrong made the announcement, they did make that change at headquarters. So I heard. And this is a $6 billion. That's a multi-billion-dollar company, Coinbase, trying to run up to a PayPal valuation, a $100+ billion valuation is what they're going for. Ripple now rejects this idea of an apolitical culture. Now, you guys really need to be listening with your ears open to understand what's going on here. Ripple does nothing. Ripple is essentially just some sort of a random pre-mine scam that ran way too good. That the Ripple CEO, all the boys in the beginning of Ripple, they can't believe how much this shit is worth today. Never seen anybody use Ripple. Never seen a poker site. They're like, hey, pay me in Ripple. Never seen a place a sports bet and they're like, oh, well, I think I'll deposit in Ripple. Never had a friend say, you know what, I want to pay you back. I'm going to send you Ripple. Never had it once. This thing is traded everywhere. It's on Coinbase, of course. It's one of the main cryptos, okay? But no one really uses it, and it's worth a shit ton. They pre-mined it all. They sell I think it's like $250 million per quarter that Ripple Labs or however the corporate structure is. They just dump this shit on the people every quarter. And then so now the Ripple CEO needs to do something. He needs to be a company. He needs to do something, anything to legitimize this crap. And so he's just going to come out and say, we're not apolitical. We are political. We are a political organization. It doesn't fucking matter for his org. Doesn't matter at all. They're just printing money. and he just takes a stance to be
So-
doing something.
If I
What
had
do you
two
think,
words
Brett?
to describe Ripple, it would be empty suits, right? And when I think of empty suits, I don't necessarily think of these virtuous people leading the charge for moral rights. So this, I just tune it out. I'm not buying it.
Of course. I mean, this is bullshit. Glance, do you see what's going on here at all?
I have no idea. I don't understand. I know the ripples in the finance, whatever area of
Yeah.
crypto, and it's mind boggling how many coins they printed and how much they can sell. And with this guy saying that he wants to be woke, he wants to be known as a woke guy. It sounds like just kind of like whatever. It sounds bullshit to me. So.
It is bullshit. They're just, I imagine the office, everyone's sitting around. There's like a bunch of people working there that don't even know why they're still getting a paycheck. They haven't submitted work in months. And then like the C-suite's all sitting there. They're like, fuck, we got to pretend to just be some kind of a company, just something. We have to just put out a press release.
So
Like,
more
if
so than
you get-
Ripple, this $25 million hack you have coming up, that interests me a lot more. So what's going on with that?
This is awesome. And I know Brett Ritchie's probably got somewhat of a, I mean, you see what's going on here. This has happened a couple times. Harvest Finance is the victim of a $25 million hack. Obviously, the prices keep swinging anyway. And this is not a hack. This is a hack, a DeFi hack, which all it means is that somebody interacted with the contract. It's all this is all in Ethereum. And there's an Ethereum contract that is essentially Harvest Finance. And somebody interacted with it in a way that no one else expected it to work. But based on the code, it did what the code said. And somebody was able to, again, not the way that people thought it would work, but with just using the rules of Ethereum, he interacted with the contract and was able to LOL out 25 million that he, most people thought shouldn't have been able to happen. Brett Ritchie, we've seen this story a couple times. What is your take on this?
So this specific scenario, the attacker used flash loans, which means he put up some collateral to borrow some collateral that gets paid back, I believe, in the same block or the next block. But what happened is he was dumping the price of one asset on a different exchange. And on Harvest Finance, their sort of price mechanism used this other exchange as part of their price calculation. So he dumps the price, and he then buys it on Harvest Finance at like this reduced price or something like that. But he was essentially printing 500K each time he did it. It was the arbitrage was worth 500K. He was putting up like 10 million for 500K and just kept clicking that button. He could have got 400 million doing this. He stopped at 25 million. But it was basically just like an arbitrage attack. And I see like we've said all along, there's no free lunch when it comes to these DeFi things. If you're expecting 10% returns or even higher, there's a lot of risk involved. This is some of the risk. This is very new things. It's these composable money Legos that can all do different things, that people are piecing them together and creating these new products. So it's incredibly high risk. And we're seeing the sort of downside to that risk. Like some of the people want the coins blacklisted for the exchanges. This is part of what you asked for when you said you want this government-free sort of new financial system. Okay, well now you can't go crying to the government when somebody does something you don't like.
My man Jesse Powell of Kraken came out and said, no, I'm not going to be freezing certain coins, on my exchange. You guys asked for like no limit, no limit finance. Well, here you got it. Why don't you audit those fucking ETH contracts? And he said, he I don't remember the exact tweet, but he mentioned something like, hey, you need to take these losses to learn. And I think he's right. Honestly, I think he's right. Like you need to feel that pain and have the community look at it and say, okay, we're going to really audit that ETH contract before we put it out there. And the last point I'm going to make is that
it's all these other weavable contracts. It's Compound and Harvest and all these other different protocols interacting together. So it's really hard to just audit it and be like, okay, it's good. And more than that, I have zero sympathy for anybody that lost money on this. I'm sorry.
Same. I'm looking at you, Uniswap, with 3 billion tied up in there. 3 billion on Uniswap now. Seems to be audited, seems to be hardened. Obviously, everybody's taking their shot there. Matt
But
Glantz.
that's way different than this. This thing is like Uniswap on steroids, the Harvest Finance.
And I realize that, but still, $3 billion tied up in an ETH contract. Matt Glantz, is that too much gambling for your blood?
Probably. But you know, enough of this crypto. It's all nonsense to me. Can we please, guys, move on from this crypto? Please.
Well, then we're going to have to bring in Tony, the producer here, because they just found a bunch of gold. Nobody likes to see that if you're a metals guy. Tony, the producer, tell us what happened.
Yeah, they did find a lot of golds in Siberia. Let's see if I can get a map here. And they're calling it the largest gold deposit in the world. But what's interesting is they actually found this back in the 70s. It's just that now that gold prices have gotten to a point where it's actually economical for them to mine it, now they're saying it's the biggest gold deposit in the world. And I think you'll find that if gold prices drop, suddenly this isn't a very profitable gold mine. I mean, how far down do you got to dig? What part of Earth's terrible cold levels of hell do you have to get to just to pull it out of the ground? I mean, just to find gold doesn't necessarily mean that gold prices are going to spike. But it is good news for crypto because you can't find more Bitcoin, that's for sure. What do you think, Brett?
Yeah, I mean, I like gold in theory. I don't personally have any, but it seems, better for crypto, right? You're not going to randomly find some more Bitcoins. Although I guess like the equivalent might be Satoshi moving some of his coins or something like that. But for the most part, that's one of the appealing things about Bitcoin specifically is that limited supply. And again, it's gone for the digital gold narrative. I think it's almost, you could say it's just one digital gold.
I just got word here. We're not going to allow that Satoshi reference. The coins are known already. They just haven't moved. But they're there. Everybody knows they're not going to find new ones.
Well, what's the market do if they start moving?
Of course, the markets for crypto and gold, really, except it's manipulated a little more, are based on worldwide supply and demand. If all of a sudden there's a bunch of people selling a big, large amounts, price will go down. That's just as simple as that.
Sounds
Tony,
good to me.
thank you for the metals update. We do appreciate you keeping your eye on that.
Right on. Have a good show, guys.
And with that, I think everybody knows what time it is. When the not investment advice hat goes on, you know what's coming next. Safety glasses on. It's the Market Mania pick of the day. We stack them to the top here, and don't waste any time. Matt Glantz, what's your Market Mania pick of the day over there in the basement?
Twitter, $51 a share right now. Earnings coming out Thursday after the close. Should be a big one. Big catalyst for the stock. I like it in the high 50s, close to 60 by the end of the week.
Boom. Twitter. You heard it here first. Brett Ritchie, what do you got for us today?
Cody, do you have that clip from a pick of the day a few weeks ago?
Yes. 1 second.
All right. He's going to pull it up.
So,
you know what? We lost that one between here and there. Sorry, man.
okay.
Don't have it.
So, basically, it's DraftKings, right? I touted the DraftKings short at $60 2 or 3 weeks ago. It is now down to $40 or so, $38.50. All of the insiders will have sold by now. The lockup expired. It crashed some more after that. I think it's the perfect time to get in. They do have a great product, so I'm a big fan of buying DraftKings here.
All right. And my pick of the day, the rarely seen long-term play of Carnival Cruise Lines. Who could have guessed that? Cruise lines are beaten down. Second round of Corona. You might have to hold this a year. I know that's not going to make Glantz very happy. You don't want to hold something for a year. But if you got the steel hands, you pick that shit up at $13.89 or so. Old people will eventually, as soon as they're allowed to, are going to ram themselves back on those floating Walmart buffets, and they can't wait to get pizza at 9:45 at night and say, "Oh, isn't it nice? You can get a piece of pizza whenever you want on here." That's what they like to do. Carnival's coming back when the virus is over. You load now if you got money that you can just not have to worry about for a year or so. All right. I think that is going to do it for another edition of Market Mania. We appreciate us degens, you tuning in and clicking likes and subscribe. We need that kind of validation in order to feel good about ourselves every night when we go to bed. Now, we're coming up to the election. Shit's on fire. It's going to be Antifa or the Proud Boys that are going to be rioting 1 week from today. Who knows which? But I like to think of another presidential candidate, Kanye West, and his words when he was on the track with Lil Pump, Trump supporter, as we learned yesterday. You're such a fucking hoe. When the first time they ask you if you want sparkling or still? Why are you trying to act like you was drinking sparkling water before you came out here? You're such a fucking... Like and subscribe on Market Mania on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Market Mania Show. And we'll see you tomorrow, if there is a tomorrow. But for now, it is lights out.
Come on, I never sleep if I don't have my medicine. Come on, I never sleep if I don't have my medicine. Come on, I never sleep if I don't have. I never sleep. Come on, I never sleep if I don't have my medicine.
Time to right the wrong. So your hands in the air if you like the song. If you're going over there, take it twice as long. Last time ain't talking about Tylenol. Oh, I bet you'd like to know. You can come around the way if you're trying to go. If you want to switch lanes for a pot of gold or a domino, out of control. The usual. Get mad cause I'm looking at your girl.
Switch it up.
I do it so much louder than everything you've heard. Everybody heard, got the word that the world wasn't turning. Act like you're in a jury of however turning where I would turn it. Can't lie like it's business to be burning. Don't act like you're in a daze. I imagined it look the other way. Couldn't clear space in my mind, was afraid of the time. Strobe light like in the moonlight. I'm in the mood right now, how